Hello guys and welcome back. To switch this scene to Eevee render, I recommend saving a new copy from the work file. After that, I will delete some of the scene elements which we won't need anymore. Hide the models collection to keep the work smooth. Then, we will delete the 2D plan, the camera, and the leaves on the street. Now, we will start by adding a new particle system, so make a collection for that. From Shift-A, add a new plane to the scene, position it in front of the door area, and scale it up. This plane will work as an emitter to the particles. I did also move it up a bit, and rotated it toward the house. Now, from the particles properties, add a new system. We will keep this one on emitter, and hit the spacebar to see the animation. We're gonna start by changing those ball-looking particles to leaves, and for that, go to Append and import the leaf object. To see the scene, change the engine from Cycles to Eevee, and switch to Render View. In the particle settings, make the number around 200 for now, we will increase it later. In the Render tab, make it render as an object, and select the leaf shape we have. Experiment with the scale until the leaves looks fit. Anytime you make changes in the particle settings, you need to reset the timeline to see the result. Here in the top, we will increase the number for both the frame end and the lifetime to around 500. We increased the frame end to keep the particles generate during the animation, and we increased the lifetime to keep the particles from fading away. In the velocity, the normal value as it says, will give the particles a push, and we don't need that, so keep it at 0 value. Enable the rotation tab and increase the randomization to half. In the Viewport Display tab, disable the Show Emitter option, to keep the plane from affecting the scene light. In the field weights, put the gravity on 0.7, we will experiment with it while setting up the particles. So, there are a couple of problems we can see. First one is, the particles fallen through the street. To fix that, we need to add a collision physics to the street plane. To get rid of the bounces, increase the stickiness number to around 8. Add the same collision to the sidewalk, and the area around the house. I will make the emitting plane visible just to see it in object mode. What we need now is some wind to push the leaves toward the house. From Add, go to Force Fields, and select Wind. Put the wind behind the plane and rotate it toward the leaves. Scaling the wind field won't affect its strength. We do that here in the field settings. Put it on 2 for now, and play the animation to see how it look. They now moving along the street, and that's good. We just need to make them fly a bit. I did here rotate the wind field, and made a copy of it to add a second wind stream in the scene. I will give this field half the strength of the main one. After that, select both the wind fields, then the particle plane, and from the Object tab, go to Parent and select Object. This way if we animate the plane, the wind fields will follow it. Now, on the first keyframe, press I to set a location key for the plane. Then, go to the last keyframe and hit I again for another location key. I did increase this wind field to 3, and put the second one on 1.5. I will also rotate the first wind field and make it push the leaves up. And as we said before, we will experiment with the gravity to make the leaves in the air much longer. I think we need to adjust the scale a bit. Make the particle number around 400. After that, I will add a new force field. This one will be a turbulence, and it will make the air more dynamic for the particle to fly around. In the turbulence settings, increase the strength to around 8, and make the flow value 5. The flow is the key for aerodynamic, and as it says, it will keep changing the wind velocity in the atmosphere. Now before we add the final touch in the particle system, I need to make the animation for both the car and the camera. We did link the car to the scene, but to do some animation with it, I need to delete this one. Then, open the car file. We need to separate the wheels from the main structure. I will select some parts of the wheel and grow selection with Ctrl+. Then, hit P to separate selection. Once you finish with all the wheels, select the car and copy it with Ctrl+C, then go back to our scene and paste it there. We will animate this car along the road, so hide the particle system for now. I need 240 frames for 8 seconds. I did make the frame rate here on 30. I will also add the camera now. We will do both the car and the camera animation in the same time, so place the camera in the front, and fix the dimensions to fit a video. Make the camera focal length around 26. The animation will end here, so go to the last frame and hit I to add a location and rotation key. Now, go to the first keyframe, move the camera toward the door, and rotate it around its axis. Hit I again to add another location and rotation key. And here is the animation. Now we need to animate the car according to the camera movements. I did select the wheel and link them to the structure as a parent, so do that if needed. With the car structure, we need only a location keyframe, so add one in this area on the timeline. After that, go to the last keyframe to add another location key. And here is the animation. Still, one thing we need to do is the wheels. We will animate the rotation in one wheel and copy the data for the others. Make sure to set the origin to geometry in the wheels. Now, select one of the wheels and go to the Transformation tab on the right. We will animate the rotation from here. Hit I over the numbers to add a keyframe. I did add it first in the middle of the timeline, so I will hit Ctrl Z to fix that, and go back to the first keyframe. Now as you see, I added the first key at 0 rotation, then, if we go to the last keyframe, we can add a rotation in the right direction and hit I to assign another key. I think it need more speed, so increase the number here to around 8000. Once you done with this wheel's animation, select the others and copy the data to them with the link process. Now that we're done with both the car and the camera animations, we can bring back the particle system. The particle isn't working right, and that's mostly because the emitter intersecting with other elements. To fix the particles, I will move the emitter to the front a bit, and press I over the location area to assign the new key. Now why we put the particles animation on hold? Well, when the car passes by, it will change the airspeed around it, so the particles should show some kind of effect from the car movements. And to do this, I will add another force field. This time a vortex field, and place it near the sidewalk. I did increase the vortex strength just to show you what can it do in extreme, but we don't need that. What I need to do is, increase the vortex strength once the car passes, and bring it down again after that. So here, the car in the camera shot, I will add a strength key and leave it on 1. Then, move along the timeline and make the strength 2. After that, and before the car get out of the shot, add another 2 keys where the strength decrease from 2 to the normal value, which is 1. And that's the effect I need, something to show the car movements affecting the atmosphere. I did here make the gravity on 0.6, and change the scale for the leaves to around 0.2, so experiment with that. Once we finished with the leaves animation, we can from here bake the physics to make the preview process easier on Blender. So before you bake it, watch the animation and make sure it looks fine. I think we can increase the particle number to around 500. Now that we're done, hit the bake button. Keep in mind, if you want to change the settings after that, you have to delete the previous bake, change whatever you need, and rebake the physics again. Now that we finished with the animations, let us start with the Eevee lightings. In the render settings, I will decrease the viewport samples to keep the work smooth. Enable ambient occlusion. Turn on the space reflection and the refraction in it. We also need the motion blur for both the car and the leaves movements. In the volumetrics, put the tile size on 4. In the shadow tab, turn on high bit depth, and those are the main Eevee settings for this scene. After that, to add the light probes for the realistic lighting, from Add, go to the Light Probe section. I will start with the irradiance volume. If you want to know more about Eevee realistic lighting, watch my tutorial on it. The link should pops up on the top right corner. So for the irradiance volume, I will scale it up to make sure the inner cube includes all the objects that are visible in the camera frame. In the volume settings, make the resolution on 6 for all axes. I will add a second volume here, this will be a small one, and scale it around to fit the front area near the windows. Once you're done with the second volume, go to the Add menu. This time we will add the reflection cube map. With this one, we just need to scale it up and cover the entire scene with it. To see the difference after adding the light probes, we need to go back to the render settings, and bake the indirect light. Make the cube map size on 1024, and switch to object mode before you bake. And here it is, it made quite the difference in the scene. It's a bit heavy to move in the viewport due to the last bake. Here in the last frame, I will move this tree behind the camera, and place a palm tree in its place. For the render sampling, I did render my animation on 16, so make it like that, or keep it on 32. Anything more won't give much better result, just extra render time. In the Scene tab, we can assign a folder for the output files. In the file format, put it on FFmpeg video. Make the encoding on the MPEG-4 format, and put it on high quality. With those settings, you can render the animation directly as a video. Another way to render is, we will make the format back on PNG, and render each frame as an image. This way we can stop the render if needed, and continue in any time we want. Once we render all the frames, we can put the Editor tab on Video Sequencer, go back to the first keyframe, and from Add, import all the images. And it should appear like this. After that, we will change it again to the same video output settings, and render the frames as a video. The sequencer render won't take a minute, and that's it. I wish this course been helpful to you in any way. Make sure to share the video if you like it. Stay sharp guys, goodbye.